Hello and welcome to the Untranslatable podcast. We are here recording episode 183, and today we're talking about a hot topic right now, which is not the coronavirus, but working from home, which is obviously a big thing right now, just because a lot of people are working from home or unfortunately have lost their jobs and are looking for work at home. So we're going to talk today about working from home, some of the pros and cons. Curious to hear what Jared's thoughts are on it. He always brings a lot of enlightenment to this podcast. So without further ado, my man with the plan, my boy Jared. What's going on, Jared?
Hello, everyone. I hope you're doing well. Hi, Chad. I hope everyone's practicing social distancing. I think that's the phrase you're looking for.
We're definitely practicing it here, Jared.
I hope everyone is self-quarantining. I'm going to be honest with you. I've been doing a pretty good job of self-quarantining. I haven't gone to any store since Monday. Mm-hmm. I've walked around my neighborhood, but we'll get to that later. I would have no problem doing the podcast with you in person if it weren't for your parents, because if I got them sick, I would feel very bad. But other than that, I feel like I've been doing well enough to I think I've been doing a good enough job of self-quarantining where if you lived alone, I'd be like, yeah, I could go over to Chad's place. I haven't gone anywhere all week.
Right.
Maybe not. And also, I don't mind getting you sick, knock you down a few pegs. You're always on your high horse around me. Hello, everyone. Please follow us.
Пожалуйста.
Instagram, Untranslatable Podcast. Twitter, Untranslatable1, the number 1. You can give us 5-star reviews. Please
Пожалуйста.
give us 5-star reviews on iTunes and Stitcher. We appreciate it. Please and thank you. Really at this point, what else do you have to do? This is podcast.
True.
This is the time for podcast to boom. You're stuck at home. You need to drown out whoever else is at home with you, or you need to drown out your own thoughts.
That's
tend
a
to
valid point,
wear headphones for both of those reasons. I haven't talked to you in a while. I was in Chicago last week.
Yeah, how was it?
Well, our initial plan was to go for a concert that obviously got canceled. And we were okay with that. We weren't going to go to the concert, but I thought, hey, we already have this Airbnb. We can't get our refund for the Airbnb. How about we self-quarantine ourselves in Chicago, since we already have the Airbnb? So that's essentially what we did, except we did go out to dinner. And now, keep in mind, this episode is coming out like 2 weeks. I just need to make it clear, because it would sound crazy for me to say that I went to dinner now.
Right.
But when I was in Chicago, it was right before everything really started getting shut down.
Yep.
But they were still doing this distancing. We went to one restaurant that didn't have many people in it. So we kind of naturally had spaces in between all of us and self-quarantined ourselves there. Social distance, excuse me, not really quarantined. And then at the other restaurant, they said on their website, they had all these rules that they were doing for extra hygiene and all that stuff. When we left, they were spraying down the door handles. So that was cool, but it was still a little uncomfortable, I will say, just mentally knowing all those people are around us. We were like, all right, let's get out of here. But
what did you get to eat?
I had Thai food that was delicious.
Ooh, nice.
And then we went to an Italian restaurant, and that was also delicious.
So you're telling me no Chicago deep dish pizza, Jared?
No.
Oh, very disappointed.
I love myself, Chad. And there's so much great food in Chicago, and pizza is fine, but it's by no means my favorite kind of pizza. And I don't feel like it's that necessary. And so no pizza. And my girlfriend did a proper self-quarantine. I realized, like an idiot, halfway actually in Albion. We stopped in Albion to get gas. There I realized I forgot my jacket at home.
Smooth. Did you drive all the way back?
No. So we got to Chicago. I walked and bought a jacket there, but I wore my girlfriend's jacket while I was going to, and it was this light maroon, and I felt very self-conscious, even though there's no reason to be embarrassed.
That's true.
Bought a jacket.
No reason at all.
And so I walked around a lot on Saturday. My girlfriend did a proper self-quarantine. She didn't really go outside. She was a little bit more cautious than I was. But I walked around. I didn't go into anything. I just walked around the city. It was St. Patrick's Day weekend, the weekend before St. Patrick's Day, where all these festivities were canceled. But in Chicago's a big St. Patrick's Day town, and all that stuff got canceled. I was walking around. I saw lines outside of bars galore.
Really?
On every corner, I saw every Irish pub that I walked by. Not every Irish. Most Irish pubs I walked by, with lines out the door. Liquor stores were packed. People were partying. They did not care at all.
That's not good.
No. And so I was walking around like, wow, you walk around and you wouldn't even realize what's happening. But I enjoyed it. I enjoyed my last little exposure to anything other than like a 5-minute proximity from my home, because that's all that's been happening for the past week. And I don't like it. How's your self-quarantine been going so far, Chad? Oh, I wanted to ask you this.
Go ahead.
I wanted to ask you this. Is your self-quarantine much different than your life would be if there weren't a pandemic happening right now?
That's what I was just about to say.
Except for us not podcasting together.
Well, for the most part, I think my life would be pretty similar, especially because I have taken on some students online, teaching English online.
Yes.
So I'm still staying at home. So I actually had to remove my teaching backdrop from my little teacher corner. I just got a couple pictures up here. One says like hello. One says teacher Chad, stuff like that. Yeah.
Why would you take that down?
Because this is a professional podcast here, Jared. We're not trying to influence our listeners to become my English students. Although if you are looking for English lessons, hit us up on untranslatablepodcast@gmail.com. I'm happy to help you. But yeah.
Oh, so you're happy to help. Wait, well, those are two very contradictory
statements. You can teach English if you want to. That's true.
Wait, so what is all involved in the backdrop?
Just a couple pictures. Picture a map of the United States. Says hello. And it says teacher Chad. And then I'm still working on the fourth picture. I'm thinking either learning is fun or I'm probably going to put a whiteboard up right here. So we'll be good to go.
Why, and how would that influence our listeners to do anything?
It wouldn't. I don't know.
Okay.
I don't know. Anyways.
Someone as lazy as you, I would expect you to just leave it up. And it would be great for the podcast. I would love to see that. I can't believe you wouldn't think that would make great content.
I'll leave it up. I'll leave it up next time. But yeah. So
what made you think of the map? Why the map?
I just feel like the map is if you're teaching English, you got the U.S. right here. You can talk about states, and you can use it for all sorts of different stuff.
No, that's great. I love that. What level are you teaching? Like what age group?
Kids,
like
mostly
proficiency.
Kids.
What's their proficiency?
I'd say anywhere from beginner to intermediate advanced.
Okay. I feel like this business should be especially booming in a time like this.
No kidding. Well, I think there's going to be a lot of online stuff happening right now just because of the whole pandemic.
Wow.
But yeah, I don't know, man. I don't think my life would change too much, although I would have I would have spent more money going out to restaurants and eating. That's for sure.
No, you wouldn't, you liar.
That's not true. I definitely would. I mean, I have a bunch of people I haven't even seen since I've been back because of this whole thing. Going and having a brewski or two at the bar, that's not happening.
Yeah.
But don't worry, Jared. I stocked up. I got my Bells and my Founders here.
That's good.
In the fridge, so we'll be good there. They were sold out of Verner's though, Jared. That was the most Michigan thing that I saw while I went grocery shopping last week. No Verner's. Verner's is all gone. And for our listeners out there who aren't from Michigan, Verner's is basically the heal all of everything for most Michiganders, at least what they think. You got a tummy ache, have some Verner's. It
is. And this is scientifically proven, the most powerful ginger ale in in the United States, possibly the world.
Oh, definitely. For sure. Definitely the tastiest.
Yeah. Oh,
definitely the tastiest. There's many scientists who have proven this. It's the tastiest. But yeah.
I stocked up on Topo Chicos,
Okay, not
limes,
surprised.
and tequila.
There you go. Good call. Good call.
So, yeah, I can imagine your life not being that different. I'm sure it's nice now that you have something to do during the day, though.
That's
something
That's the other thing, Jared. It's only early in the morning. So to our listeners out there, if you hear me yawn, it's not because Jared's boring me. It's because the last couple of days I've been getting up at 4:30 and 5:30. Jared usually gets up at 5:30.
Yeah.
So I shouldn't really complain, but I'm not used to it. I'm not used to it, so gotta get used to that. What time do you get up now that you don't have to go into work?
Well, let me tell you the time I get up when I have to go into work, and then when we start talking about working from home, I'll tell you the time that I wake up now.
Okay. Sounds good.
When I go into work, I set my alarm for 6:40 to 6:45. Now, I probably get up at about 7, though.
Oh, that's not too bad. Okay.
But I'll tell you this. My life's falling apart. No more minimal. Well, I'm not going to say no more minimalism challenge, but it's really hard. I don't want to just throw everything away. And I don't know. And it's just so hard to like throw stuff away when I'm stuck inside. I don't know. It's weird. And then I'm behind on the book too. You're probably finished with the book.
I'm only halfway through.
Okay. I'm on like page 100.
That's not bad.
You know what I've also been noticing? I've had a lot of weird revelations during this quarantine
Epiphanies.
time. Yeah. Have you been listening to podcasts? You listen to podcasts?
Only ours.
Well, I know that's not true. I don't even listen to ours, and I edit it. People are like, I could tell. No, what I was gonna say though, I listen to a lot of very big podcasts, a lot of podcasts. That's all I listen to essentially, and I listen to very big podcasts, smaller podcasts. A lot of these big podcasts and all the podcasts have been going to a self-quarantine social distancing setup where they're going remotely. I realized no one knows how to do a remote podcast like the Untranslatable podcast. You guys should be paying us $6,000 a week. You hear people's just phone connections.
Paying you $6,000 a week, you mean?
That's true. Chad will get $5 a week out of that.
I'm cool with that. I'm all right with that. Although this time it was your idea, not my idea. But it's funny you mentioned that, Jared.
If I asked to come over, you would be okay with that?
Once again, I think
So
if
my
I
idea,
lived,
but she's not like you want me to come over. And not that I blame you, I didn't want to.
I think for me, I would if I was living alone. Yeah.
I also would have felt even a little more inclined if I hadn't just gone to Chicago too a week ago.
Fair.
Where it's
That's
like,
fair.
Like, yeah, I didn't go into any bars or anything, but I was around amount of people. And
I have to say though, Jared, speaking of the whole remote podcasting thing, it's funny because I've actually gotten fairly accustomed to it because that's what we've been doing 80% of the, maybe even 90% of the time we've been doing this podcast. And it's so funny when people ask me like, how do you and Jared record a podcast when you're, we used to be, oceans apart. Now we're, a couple highways away.
But it's literally no different in the way.
No, definitely not. It's fun. It's just funny how that works.
Except we have a connection now that's reliable.
Right.
That's the main difference.
I will tell you, there's one observation that I've seen throughout this whole thing right now with the pandemic and everything and the lockdown and the quarantine is that a lot of people, I think, assume that a lot of other people have access and know how to use a lot of different technology, which I don't think is true. I think a lot of teachers are starting to realize, who have put all their content or most of their content online, that they need to do it in a way that all their students, even their students who don't have smartphones, don't have internet access at home, things like this, can somehow access all the materials and everything. And I think this is really going to show us how we'll be able to adapt to maybe doing more stuff online in the future, not because of necessity, but because it could be very beneficial for a lot of reasons. But it'll be interesting to see.
I think this whole work from home thing will be in very interesting, not social experiment, because it seems like it's ruining people socially. My timeline is my Twitter and Instagram looks like it's just filled with people going insane.
Right.
Because
No
there's just
kidding.
all people dancing or making crazy clips in their apartment by themselves.
Right. Right. Yeah.
I'll be very interested to see the like the business experiment of it. All these companies that are so stuck and I, you know, I work for a kind of a big old school company essentially.
Right.
And my company already has a lot of the infrastructure you need to work from home, but at least a lot of the people I work with don't really embrace working from home, and it's not really like it's something that you can do, but it's only like well, you know, someone's coming over to fix my sink, so I have to work from home. It's not like
Right.
that's what it is. But I think it'll be interesting to see like productivity, how that changes,
absolutely.
goes up, goes down. But I have a lot of thoughts on that. I think we'll get to that later. For now,
We will.
do you want to spread a little love?
I do, Jared. You know, speaking of working from home and just being at home, one thing that you can do is work out at home. And today's shout out goes out to a grandma, Charlene Brunez. I think that's how you say her last name. She is a 67-year-old woman who has won a gold medal in the Canadian National Powerlifting Championships. So she lifted double her body weight, 270 pounds, as a deadlift for her first national title. And I think this is super awesome that she said that she was worried about her health and started lifting weights and eventually became a gold medalist, which I think is super awesome. It's a great story. And I've been seeing memes, Jared, lately that say, like, out of this quarantine, I'm either going to come out, 50 pounds lighter or 100 pounds heavier. I think maybe if you work out like this woman does, you might come out maybe a couple of pounds heavier, but that poundage is going to be muscle.
Yeah.
That's right. That's right.
That's all good weight right there.
Oh, for sure.
Yeah, I mean that is a great tip to anyone, is that if you're feeling physically or psychologically weak, or not weak, that's about, or like down, exercise is always going to make you feel better.
Oh, absolutely. So shout out to Charlene Brunez.
Shout out, yes. Sorry, I need to give the proper.
There we go.
Proper. Shout out accolades here. I'm just so excited for these untranslatables. I'm gonna be honest with you. That's why I was almost tripping over
chomping
my
at
words.
the bit.
Yeah. Chad, I love this new background that you have. Well, I'll get into why I like it later, but remind me to talk about that background.
Okay.
Because I have sort of been staring into it. Taking myself away, being like, oh, I wish I could be there and record the podcast. How nice would that be? Dude,
It'd be pretty nice.
now is a perfect time to do like a podcast in the woods or something, or a camping podcast or something
Oh,
like
that's
that.
true. Both get our own tents, social distance podcast from our own separate tents.
We'll
In
still be on
campgrounds next to
Skype.
each other. Right. Oh, man, that'd be hilarious. That would be so funny. I don't know,
drive
though, dude.
separate,
Depending
yeah.
on how this goes, the only place we might be able to camp is our backyard.
Yeah, I mean, you have a pretty big backyard. You have a
We
very
could
campable
definitely-
backyard.
Very campable. But, Jared, let's get into these untranslatables, shall we?
Yeah, dude. My first one is French, Swiss French. And it's
Ooh.
donner un bon man. To give a good hand.
That's like to help somebody without being asked to help.
Yes, but how? It's way more specific than that.
Helping someone up when they didn't
To
ask
give
to
a
be
good
helped up.
hand. Maybe you give a good hand.
You smack
hotel-
somebody in the face.
Maybe you give a good hand in a hotel room when you leave or you give a good hand at a restaurant, or you give a good
tip.
hand.
You give
Yep.
a tip. Oh, you give a good tip. Okay. Well,
Yep.
Jared, my first one for you today is Ghanaian boiled is in English. It's a phrase they say in Ghana in English. It is.
I was about to say, I don't think Ghanaian is a language in itself.
No. Twi is one of the languages they speak there. But anyways, this one, the untranslatable is "it won't reach."
It won't reach.
Mm-hmm. So I'd say this is the opposite of your untranslatable.
Oh, it's like a cheapskate?
Not necessarily.
Or it's like you don't have enough money?
There we go. Hit that ham horn, my man. Yep. Don't have enough money.
So close.
Yep.
Been there. My next one is Arabic, and it's Ezakan Habibak Asal Mata Klushkolo. If your lover is honey, don't lick it all.
Can you say that one more time?
If your lover is honey, don't lick it all.
That's like don't overdo it.
Don't overdo it. If your lover, but we're talking about someone's lover. If someone's lover is honey, don't lick it all. So you got to think about something to do with. Don't overdo it.
Don't smother your significant other. That rhyme. I did not mean it to rhyme, but yeah. Don't smother your significant other.
Yeah, you betcha. Don't take advantage of someone who loves you or whom you love. Of whom you love, someone of whom you love. Don't take advantage of someone of whom you love.
There you go. Nice. My my next one for you is from Kenya, also English, and this word is flash. So I'll flash you. I'll flash you, Jared, and this doesn't. Has no sexual meaning.
Chat said that to me. I'll flash you. It's like, is it like try me? Like I bet you won't. I bet you won't. Essentially, it's like I dare you. Cause like,
nope. It has to do with this.
Oh, Chad just flashed his cell phone at the screen.
Mm-hmm.
So is it that like hit me up? Flash.
Yes, but so this is kind of a funny one. So now if you have minutes on your phone, Jared, does it cost minutes when you call or when I call?
When I call. The caller has to pay for the minutes.
Right. So if I flash you,
oh no. So is it you call but hang up and then expect them to call you back? Is that what it is?
Yep.
Oh, that's great. That's great. It's similar to like the old school. There was the joke back in the day of calling collect. When you call collect, there will be a moment before you actually get connected with the person for you to say who's calling you to see if you want to accept that call, and then in that time they'd be like, "I'll pick you up at 6." It's like, "It's your mom. I'll pick you up at 6," and it's like, "It's your mom. I'll pick you up at 6." Wants to have a conversation, then you just hang up. Right. This is the new version. This is the new cheap version, I guess.
Exactly.
Dude, I do not miss those days of. It's actually interesting. When I was a kid, when I lived in Germany, I had a prepaid phone and it sucked. When I was in Austria,
it's the worst.
When I was in Austria studying abroad and I had prepaid, wasn't that bad. Then it was like, I'm really only going to text this person if I actually have something to say.
True. That is very true.
I have one more untranslatable, and it's Greek, and it's "Grafo sta palia mauta paputia." I wrote it on my old shoes.
I wrote it on my old shoes.
Yeah. So imagine, Chad, you're telling me about your time in Bali, and you notice me maybe looking out the window at a bird, and you're like, Jared, hey, Jared. I'm like, yeah, no, I heard you. I wrote it on my old shoes. Keep going.
Oh, so it's just like I'm listening. I'm paying attention.
Yeah, but it means they. Actually, no, no.
Okay, what does it mean?
It means don't care, not interested. ignoring the
Oh.
person. So it's
Okay.
like that's how they're taking note of it. Oh no,
Right.
I took note of that.
So
I wrote it on
important.
my
Yeah, I
old
wrote it
shoes.
on my old
I'll
shoes.
never
Right.
see that again. Although I wear my old shoes more than I wear my new shoes because I'm scared to wear new stuff when I get it. Although I'll say this, tip one that I have working from home: wake up every morning and put on real clothes. For the first couple days, I just was wearing essentially the same stuff I would sleep in, and I said no more.
Bad idea.
And starting
Yep.
on like Tuesday or Wednesday, I was like, no. And so as you see, look, I'm wearing real pants. Honest, I never wear real pants in my home, but I'm wearing real pants, real shoes.
Is that my old flannel?
No, I bought this myself.
Okay. Looks like one of my old ones.
Not everything I wear is not yours, Chad. Believe it or
That's
not,
true.
I have some clothes left. It's hard for me to believe sometimes too, but I do have some clothes left. Everything, actually, yep, this is all mine. So I mentioned that I wake up at 6:40 to 6:45 ish on a normal day. Usually get up at 7. Now I'm wake up at about 7:40 to 7:45 ish. And usually I'm at my computer by like 8:15. 8:15 is usually the time I arrive at work if I drive there.
Gotcha. Okay.
So pro number one of working from home right there, sleeping in. The only problem is
It's a big pro for sure.
once I eventually go back to work, like I'm already getting to the point where
It's
like
gonna be tough.
waking up at 8 o'clock, I'm like, oh my gosh, what kind of life is this that a
Right.
man must live?
Right. Absolutely.
Another thing, and inside of that, as a part of that, waking or putting clothes on, is also forcing myself to shower on a relatively normal basis. Mm-hmm. And by relatively normal, I'm going to say if there's 7 days in a week, let's just say theoretically
Usually
there are 7
there
days
are,
in a week,
but sometimes not.
I would shower 5 to 6 days a week.
Okay, that's not bad.
Yeah, I think that's fair.
pretty
Especially
good.
for someone that does minimal movement. Now, you, Chad, you're working from home as well, but this is a job that you don't have any other choice. That's the whole point of the job, is to do it
Yeah.
on a computer remotely. Is this your first work from homey kind of job like this?
Well, no, I've done online teaching with German before.
I didn't know
and I've done some private tutoring online via Skype as well before. So
do
it's
you
not my
like it?
first rodeo.
How do you like it? And not even the job per se, but the process of logging into your computer and all that stuff. And
Oh, it's super nice. I mean, as long as you have solid internet connection, you're good. You don't have to drive
Do you-
anywhere. There's nothing you have to worry about. You sit down in your comfy chair and get to work.
How do you feel about using video with strangers?
I mean, if it was a class, they would be strangers in the beginning anyways, too.
That's true. That's true, and that's real life. Our friend Don, he's also working from home, like most people, and he says that at his job they require, or not, they don't require. I don't know if it's not a requirement, but when they do meetings and stuff, they all use video. And I'm like, oh no, we do not do that at my job.
Right.
Like the only thing we'd show, like we'll show our screen sometimes or like present something, but we never. I've never been in a meeting where they do the video, and I don't know if I'd want that. I don't want my coworkers seeing what especially since this room. I mean, I'll have strangers see this room on the internet, but apparently I don't care about that. But like, it's weird for my coworkers. Like, it's like I don't need my coworkers in here. Just strangers on the internet. That's the way I like it.
Yeah, obviously, Jared. Come on now. Check out our YouTube channel, Untranslatable Podcast.
So I'm gonna go through this essentially just like I have some tips, and I'm just gonna go through like my daily routine. So
Let's hear it.
are you a breakfast eater? Do you eat breakfast every day?
Nope.
Me neither.
I don't usually eat until about noon to 2. That's usually the window when I start.
Yeah, me too. I find myself actually not eating as much during the day, at least. Dinner's essentially the same. I find myself not eating as much during the day as I would at work. And I feel like it's because I'm just...
Rationing it out.
Yeah, a little bit.
Yeah.
A little bit. Every time especially like snacks and stuff, every time I want to eat a snack, I really got to think about it. I have like a couple frozen pizzas, and I really gotta earn that frozen pizza. Like, I'll
That's
stare at
fair.
a frozen pizza in my freezer for like a solid 30 seconds and be like, no, not today, not today. You can't go to the grocery store for at least another week and a half, and you're gonna already eat one of your 4 frozen pizzas.
Right.
You're gonna blow it that early, and
Bad idea.
watch. I'm never gonna. So. One thing I learned even before this quarantine, at my last job in Philadelphia, I had a situation where once a week I could work from home. That was really nice. And that's the only time I've had that situation. Granted, that's the longest job I ever had. But what I learned quickly was, one, you gotta have a room. You can't work from home
Or a
in your-
space.
a
room
space.
or a space.
Yeah.
A
A room
desk,
is a
something.
little privileged thing to say, I guess. I happen to have a room, but not everyone has a room.
Check your privilege, Jared. Come on.
Wow, Chad. I should just clip that part and have that be a clip on our end. And be like, what do you guys think of this?
Check your privilege. Oh, jeez. No context at all whatsoever.
Yes.
Oh, God. Black Twitter is going to obliterate me, Jared.
Black co-host on podcast gets abused regularly by white co-host. No, it is privileged for me to say have a room. I have a room. Actually, probably most people don't have a room.
Right.
That they
I'm
can
lucky
just.
here I have a room as well.
Yes. But I've lived in an apartment when I was in Philadelphia where I didn't have a room. And I had a bedroom and I had a living room that were separate. I didn't work in the bedroom. But I worked in the living room, but I sat on my sofa, and it would be like you could like time lapse it over like 3 hours and just see me sitting in sitting upright, then slowly just
Slouching.
getting more and more sideways, and more until next thing I know, I'm lying down watching Netflix and just like my computer's in front of me, and I'm like, how did this happen? I was
that
working
doesn't
2
surprise me
hours
at all.
ago.
Yep.
You can't sit on a sofa. You
Nope.
can't I need a desk. I need to be self-quarantined in my own home from TVs. I don't like the TV there, even though I have my computer. And now let me mention
But
that
that's
I have a work
different.
computer. I have a work computer, obviously, but right behind me, I have my personal computer, which is a relatively large screened computer. You know what? I don't know how I even thought of this, but you know what I've now become addicted to? It's
What?
walking tours. So I go on. I have 4K
nice.
walking tours of cities up and so I've been to Tokyo. I've been to Rome.
Where do you find these walking tours at? I want to do a walking tour. That's cool.
Do you not know how a internet works? How YouTube works? Type that in.
Wait, I have to go to
find
Google?
it. Type in walking tour and you'll find it on YouTube. That's that easy.
Perfect.
Also, what I've been doing is I've been going on like scenic drives or like hikes in the woods or like hikes through the Alps I've been on, or hikes through like Utah I've been on. So I like to have those up in the background. That's been great.
That's a great idea.
So that's been nice too. I think it's important to maintain regular hours. I think that's a tip I would give. And I also think it's hard. Not hard for you because your job already kind of gives you a set hours where you're working.
True.
Do you have to do a lot of background work where like outside of the actual face-to-face stuff?
I mean, yeah, there's some prep. Well, it depends. For the company I'm soon to
you
work
have to make
for.
your
No,
set.
the company that I'm going to work for in the near future, I've already signed the contract and everything. For them, they give me the PowerPoint slides to teach from, whereas the private students that I'm taking on my own, I have to do all the prep for.
Sure.
So usually for about every hour of like tutoring I have, that's about 20, 30 minutes of prep work. Somewhere around
That's
there.
not bad. It's not bad. So I understand that you would take down your little teacher background that you have up, but they don't ask you to put up a background like that, do you? Do they?
A lot of, and we'll do an episode at some point on online teaching because I've applied to a bunch of different places and I think I have a few interesting things to share about it. But yeah, there are a lot of places that they want you to have some type of background, just because it's more inviting than a boring blue wall with half
Yeah,
a...
you do this podcast with me twice a week, and you never thought to put up... Like, you knew that they asked for these things, and it never even crossed your mind to be like, oh, they asked for it because it brightens up the background. Maybe that would be a nice thing to add to the podcast. So maybe it's not even the same one used for teaching. You don't need teacher Chad up. You're not teaching anyone anything here for the most part.
Podcaster Chad?
Listen, you're the background expert. I didn't even know this was a thing. I'm learning too.
There's also not only backgrounds, but you also need a headset, which I have here, which is like headphones with a built-in microphone.
Which is funny because you have a micro. They obviously they require that sort of headset situation.
Yep. But I
you
have a nicer microphone.
Yeah,
yeah, I have 2 of them now. But yeah, it is what it is. That's just what's considered normal. But man, that headset is not comfortable. I will tell you that much.
My work gave me one of those when I first started, and they work very well, but it is not comfortable at all.
Yeah. And it takes some time to get used to the little thing in front of your mouth where the microphone is. But yeah, anyways. But I think related to the background and everything, I think it's important to have your space for work set up in a way that makes you feel comfortable, you know?
And that leads me to my next sort of what I had to what had to be established in my household regarding working from home. My girlfriend works from home often. She's pretty open to work from home whenever she wants. Sometimes she goes into work. Obviously not now. She's not going into work. But in normal times, sometimes she goes, but she's not really required to.
I don't think I'd ever go to work, or maybe once a week.
Yeah, I don't know why she does so much. Well, actually, I kind of do
Probably
now that I've
just
been
to
working
see
from
people.
home.
Yeah.
I was going to say, I kind of do now that I've been working from home. But she's used to working from home. I'm not really used to working from home anymore. I essentially haven't worked from home once since I started at my new job, which I've been at for 9 months at this point, almost a year, which is crazy to think about.
It is. Time flies.
So we've had to sort of establish some sort of house rules for being around each other all day. I'm already not great with being around people all day long, especially the same
Except
people.
for me.
Yeah, right. So that might be the funniest joke Chad said ever in a while. No, so like we definitely have set up rules where it's like we don't have any sort of expectations to interact with each other for most of the day. Now, obviously, we walk past each other. We don't just fully ignore each other and all that stuff. But essentially, there's no sort of requirements or expectations for interaction throughout the day. And if like a door's closed, you just leave. It was just there's no hurt feelings if you don't interact with people all day, essentially, is the rule that we kind of have to set. And you kind of do need your space. Like, you can't be around, and it's not healthy to be around anyone 24/7, but you kind of have to right now because it is healthier than getting coronavirus.
True.
So that is definitely a ground rule that has been set. And I think, a lot of people have roommates. A lot of people live with significant others like I do. Which is essentially just a roommate.
Roommate you're romantic with, yeah?
Yeah, a roommate, but we share the same room. You definitely got to set those ground rules beforehand, and I think that's important. Schedule breaks is another one, along with these setting rules. My first day or two of working from home,
Were you pretty liberal with your schedule?
No, opposite.
Oh, really?
I didn't.
You were
I
killing it.
barely got out of my room. Because I have everything I need within 10 feet of me,
Right.
And so like the only time I was getting up was to like get tea or water or to pee. Other than that, I sat at my desk just glued to my screen all day.
Not
powering
healthy.
through work and podcast, and I found myself working way longer than I did. I looked at the clock. I'd be like, I'd be home by now if this was a normal day, and I don't really like work that much, if at all, when I'm at home after work. So why am I sitting here way later than I would ever be working, still working, just because? And it's, why it is? It's because a lot of the leisure activities I do are like watching YouTube videos, watching or listening to podcasts, which is all stuff I can do in the background while I work anyway, you know? So it's like, well, I'm just here. I might as well just keep going, you know? And it's like, but why? You don't have to do this. So I think it's important to schedule breaks. So what I've been doing just to get my eyes away from a computer screen is, and I've stuck to this every day, except for today, actually, which is Friday, except I did go after work before we recorded, is I go for a walk every day, usually during lunch is what I try to do. I just couldn't do it today. But so, and just to get me out of the house, because yes, I have to self-quarantine. Yes, I have to socially distance, but I don't live in a very congested area. I walk through the neighborhoods, and there are people that walk around, but it's sort of a fun game to like cross the street, and it's fun to cross the street when you see someone coming and it not be just outwardly offensive.
Right.
To just immediately cross the street when you see someone turning the corner, or it's like, oh, that's very nice of that person now.
Right.
Oh, speaking of which, you know another thing that I've been thinking a lot about, and I think this is a thing that has been blowing my mind recently, and perfect for this podcast, is that this, especially at least in social media time that I can think of personally, in my social media time, this sort of coronavirus pandemic is the first like global like social media viral thing that's happening. Viral. Ha 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 ha. But it's going viral not only in our communities, but also online. Like,
true.
This might be one of the first things I've seen that everyone is talking about. Everyone.
Yeah.
Like,
you can't escape it at this point, Jared.
Like,
can't
the
escape
World
it.
Cup. The World Cup is worldwide, but most Americans don't give a shit. The Olympics are worldwide, but only a small fraction of people in every country give a shit about it. Like, this is the first thing I've seen where it's like, this is pressing to everyone's life, and this is all everyone is talking to. Now, I don't know about you. I'm a big social media person. Untranslatable podcast on Instagram. Untranslatable 1, the number 1 on Twitter. Especially a big Twitter person. I've been struggling to even like find things to like do on social media as far as our Twitter, our podcast one goes, because
it's all coronavirus stuff.
That's all anyone is talking about.
Yeah,
that's it. That is it. It is blowing my mind to see, and I've just really been thinking about like this is like the first sort of like full on global phenomenon I've seen. Did you hear Cristiano Ronaldo bought an island?
I did hear about that.
For his self-quarantine.
Must be nice. Nice.
I'm talking about my privilege to have a room to that I can put a desk in.
He's buying an island, right? No kidding. No kidding. Yeah.
Sorry, did you have something? Were you about to say something?
I think with staying at home as well, it can definitely be tough to be disciplined. Very easy to get distracted as well. I think it's really important to try to have a rough schedule. Like I got a PlayStation 4 last week. I could sit and play that thing for 8-9 hours and probably be happy. You know, I can play guitar for quite a while and be very happy. But I think you got to try to keep a schedule and try to stick with it as much as you can.
Yes. Another thing about working from home, you sort of touched on this a little bit, the technology. So I work for, as I mentioned, a company that has essentially all the technology you need to work from home. But I also work for a company that has obviously people of all ages. Now, there's one thing having access to that technology, but there's another thing for it working and for some of our older colleagues to like intuitively be able to do it like it's like it just comes to me or some other people. But that's only one part of it. I think an even bigger part of that is that even a company like mine, I was not ready for essentially all of their employees that have computery sort of jobs to be using the system at once. So it is interesting to see those
System
limitations,
crashes.
like server limitations be tested. We see like people in the first couple of days, like weren't really able to share their screens for some reason on Skype. Like that just wouldn't work. People's email went out for a few days, for a day or and a half or so. And it's like the systems aren't used to it. But that's a small problem. That's just not being prepared really more than anything. That stuff is all compatible. But what I've been noticing is that it's just the convenience of working from home is interesting because my job involves a lot of people, for example, coming up to me asking sort of requests on information. That's already a bigger step.
So how do they reach you? Now just via
we have
email?
Skype. We have email, we have phones.
Okay.
So we have all the sort of, but it is a bigger step than to just walk over to someone. Even like my boss, he sits right next to me. And so like if I want to ask him a quick question because he knows more than me, it's a whole nother step to be like, all right, I gotta either message him, which is he works most of the time, but or I gotta call him. It's like, well, I'm gonna call him and it's just like I know I can do it, but it is a step that is
doesn't
annoying.
hurt to ask.
We've also been in a lot of big meetings, and one of my colleagues that I'm friendly with, we were having a meeting, and she asked me if I saw the work from home bingo page yet, and I hadn't. And she showed it to me, and I was like, and this was like day 2 of work from home, and I was like, I think I've already heard all of these things from people in 2 days, and it's like, and it's like sort of like oh no, you go ahead, and it's like sorry, and it's like, can everyone on the line mute, and it's like, and it's like, can you guys see my screen? Can everyone hear me? And it's like, sorry, that's my dog. It's like just all these sort of cliches that you just hear on a constant basis.
Although the dogs have got to be really happy right now that their mommies and daddies are working from home. Those of us who can.
Speaking of that bingo, one of my colleagues this morning. Oh, that's another thing that my boss, he's Italian. I don't know if I've mentioned that before. He's very social, and he was talking about how, and he socially, he seems to be struggling with the work from home thing. He likes interacting with people like a normal human being would. Even it's killing me. And I'm about as introverted as it gets. And he suggested that every morning we have a little like team, like our department, little team of 6 people. Every morning we have a 20-minute that's called like a team connect and coffee meeting that we do, and it's optional. You don't have to show up, and you don't even necessarily have to talk about work related things, but we essentially just for 20 minutes every morning at like 9:00 just chit chat and just talk about, sometimes obviously we talk about work, we're all colleagues and stuff, but it's not even about that. It's just about normal talking and interacting with humans, because that is probably one of the biggest adjustments. I didn't realize that 95% of my social interactions happen at work.
Yep.
And it's and even those little things like the meetings every morning goes a long way to not going insane.
That's
How do
true.
you what's your desk setup? What do you have in your desk in front of you when you work?
Usually just my laptop and occasionally pad of paper and a pen. That's usually about it. And a glass of water.
Do you, you're one screen?
Yep, one screen kind of guy.
Oh, see, at work, I'm a 2-screen person. But they don't let us take home like monitors and stuff. So I've had to revert to one screening it.
Uh-oh.
And
can't you use your home desktop to 2-screen it?
No, it's a Mac, and Macs think they're better than that. It doesn't allow you to like use it as an external monitor.
Gotcha.
And that's been a real tough, because I do like Excel sheets and all that kind of nerdy stuff, and a lot of like presentation stuff. Going back and forth on one screen is real tough, especially since this one screen is smaller than the 2 screens I have in front of me.
Sure.
But once again, these are all small little things. These are all things that if companies really committed to that work from home lifestyle could be adjusted. If my company committed to working from home, then I could probably take home monitors. If and all these little things like servers not being able to handle so many people on Skype at once, that could be fixed if dedicate more servers, or however that nerdy IT stuff works. Make it work.
Right.
There.
Right. There are some adjustments though, Jared, for sure. I think the social isolation one is difficult for a lot of people. It's funny though, Jared. I would say that I'm a pretty talkative and extroverted person, but I also enjoy being home and having time to myself to play guitar, video games, or read or whatever. And so it's interesting, but I think that at least nowadays we live in a time where it is fairly easy to at least still stay in touch with people, which is a plus. So, for
sure.
all of our listeners out there, if you're feeling lonely, don't be afraid to reach out, especially if you're been isolated at home for 2 weeks and you feel like you're going crazy.
This weekend, my girlfriend is having a virtual dinner party with some of her friends.
Oh, cool.
So
that sounds like fun. That's a good idea.
They're all going to get together on, I believe, Zoom and, dinner party it up and just eat dinner together and chit-chat. So that's another good idea. I have... so I would say that there are definitely some pros and cons to work from home. And I would say that, as I mentioned before, this would be a very interesting social experiment. I'm actually surprised at myself for how good of a worker I've been since I've been working home. My boss does not listen to this. I hope, at least. I've never mentioned it, and I don't plan on it. Not that I have anything to hide, I guess. But my boss does not listen to this, and I'd actually be surprised at how good, how what's the word I'm looking for? Efficient of a worker I've been. How productive. Excuse me. That's what I'm looking for.
There you go.
How
Nice.
productive of a worker I've been. I think I've actually been. It keeps me in better shape because even at work, like I'm not going for walks, and I go for like a 30 minute to like 45-minute walk. It's a good walk. Sometimes I go for 2. Occasionally after work, I'll go for 1 with my girlfriend because we take different lunches usually during the day. But I think that this will be an interesting experiment for companies, and I think companies would be smart to not only think about this as like how are we gonna like get through these times, but really analyze how people how productivity changes, because I don't think it's gonna affect it one bit. Honestly, I think it's gonna help it, and I'm gonna say working from home is not only gonna help these companies because you know what. Companies are going to be okay. I'm not concerned about companies making millions and billions of dollars. They are the least of my concern. You know what's a bigger concern for me?
Yeah. The people.
A bigger concern for me. Well, no, I don't. No, that's wrong.
You.
Wah.
You, Jared.
Yeah, myself. No. My biggest concern is the earth and the environment because there might not be people for much longer. And there have been some unexpected but positive benefits to the environment because of this.
Oh, definitely.
Essentially global self-quarantine that is happening right now. In Italy, where coronavirus is currently at its worst, they've seen a huge drop in nitrogen dioxide emissions. They've also seen in Venice, where within Italy coronavirus was quite bad. In the canals for the first time in a long time, the waters are perfectly clear. You can see fish swimming in them.
And
swans
dolphins
have been
are coming.
Dolphins, yes, too. Dolphins. Swans have been granted. Swans are very majestic, but very aggressive. Be careful around swans.
Don't mess with swans. Yeah, don't mess with swans.
But it is a good sign to see them swimming through canals because usually they wouldn't due to boats potentially running them over. So it's these waters that were before essentially uninhabitable to what you would think would be the natural habitat to a canal or water is now they're able to use them again because no one's going anywhere in Italy. China has seen serious decreases in pollution there as well.
Definitely.
And they say that Stanford University scientist and Earth Systems professor Marshall Burke has used the emissions data for China to calculate what effect reduced pollution could have on the health of local residents and found that the impacts of SARS-CoV-2 is what they called that, on our environment could potentially save more lives than it kills, detailing his calculations in a post on the So he's essentially... His calculations found that the reductions in harmful emissions could potentially contribute to saving the lives of 77,000 Chinese residents. He used data
that's pretty good.
from U.S. government sensors in Chengdu, Shanghai, Guangzhou. Is how you say that? Guangzhou?
Guangzhou.
And, and Beijing, measuring levels of PM 2.5, a particulate matter size of air pollutant. Burke mapped the drop in local pollution levels compared to previous years and used this to theorize the potential effect of pollution-related mortalities across the country. Now, a weirdly morbid thing to say, but saying that this, the virus could, you're saving more lives by this virus, due to its impact on the environment. But it is nice to see that it's, and I think that much like the seeing how companies could potentially improve efficiency, save money, and improve people's lifestyle by allowing them to work from home. I would like to think now governments might be a little bit harder to convince because it's more than just money for government. Work for companies, it's essentially just money that's motivating them. So they see the improvement in money, maybe they'd be quicker to change. The thing about government is there's so much more involved in it, ideology and all that stuff. But in some, I would love to think that people would see even the short-term effect that we're having on the environment by people staying inside, by people driving less, people just using less, essentially. What effects we could have on the environment if we actually took an effort to improve an effort rather than just as a result of a deadly virus, True. Also, gas prices are low as shit, bro. I bought gas in Albion for like $1 and not $1.19, I think it was.
Oh, that's pretty good.
Yeah.
Well, Jared, when people stay at home for a long time, they might get a little stir crazy. But one thing to combat being stir crazy, is listening to some good tunes. And today,
I've had some songs stuck in my head recently, so I'm excited for this song of the pod to have something else stuck in my head for a few days.
So this song is called. Do you know what it's called, Jared? It's in Cyrillic, which is the Russian alphabet. All
right, let me take a shot at it. Well, first of all, I'm already confused because there's a backwards 3 in there. That's throwing me off a little bit. I'm going to be honest with you. Well, that's actually not a backwards 3. That's just a 3. Wow, Jared. No, can't do it. I don't even know where to begin.
Well, first of all, the P in Cyrillic is an R.
Rojbo bonjour.
So, Jared, the title of the song by Feduk and I believe it's Alge is Rozovoi vino, which means rosé wine.
Oh, okay. When I hear it, actually, that makes sense. Because vino, I probably could have guessed wine. Now, I wouldn't have thought rosé immediately, but I definitely would have guessed. I could have heard the wine out of that.
Right.
So these two are two Russian fellas,
I believe. I mean, they rap and sing in Russian.
Right off the bat, I don't know who's who. Which one's singing the chorus?
I couldn't tell you.
Okay, whoever's the one that's not singing the chorus, that sings the verses. I could really he has like these contacts in or something in where it just looks like his eyes are the whites of his eyes. That creeps me out, dude. I do not like
pretty
that
creepy.
one bit.
Yeah,
honestly, when I listen to the song, I have to not look at the video. I do not like that. And then there's the contrast of the guy singing the. Not that I dislike what he's saying, by the way. I just don't like his face. And then contrast that with the guy that sings the chorus. He has a very inviting smile. He looks so friendly. I love his face. I love his voice. I love the song too, by the way. It is very like, at least I don't know what they're saying, but to me it seems like just your typical braggadocio hip hop sort of vibe. And I guess that's confirmed by the fact that the song's called Rosé Wine.
Right.
But I like it. I can imagine this being a hit in the clubs too.
Well,
I can
Jared,
imagine.
I'm glad you mentioned that because, first of
Jesus
all,
Christ! I just looked at the views. I didn't even
Yep.
notice that. It's definitely a hit. 261 million plus views.
Yep, no kidding. But yeah, so there's kind of a story behind this song, Jared, and I'll just give you and the listeners just a quick version of the story. So this is my girlfriend is Russian, and this is a song she showed me. I've been aware of it for a while now, but was looking through pictures on my old phone, and there's a picture from the night when we were at the club. We went to a club in Beijing during it was like Russian night at the club. So they were playing all the Russian hits, all the bangers. They played this one.
Do Russians and Chinese or not historically, but tend to get along culturally?
I think. I don't know. That's a good question. I'm not sure. I think.
I just don't know how those. I don't know how those two cultures what their
I mean,
relationship
they're
is.
on the border together, so I think they have an okay relationship.
That's true. They're both communists. They both like that about themselves, I guess.
But anyway, so yeah, so
did
I was
not like that.
I was at the I was at the
Wow.
club and they played it. So it's a good song. I don't know what they're saying, but I would agree with you, Jared. I think it's like a song kind of talking about partying and having fun and stuff like that. But it's definitely a good one. If you're down in the dumps, check it out on our YouTube channel, Untranslatable Podcast,
betcha.
in the Song of the Pod playlist. You will not be disappointed. So yes, the song is in Russian. And today, my foreign word or phrase of the pod is also Russian. I'm learning Russian. Hopefully, come September, I'll be in Russia. We'll see. Who knows with all this? I'm assuming Jared's probably not going to Paris in May now.
How dare
but
you?
You never know. Could change. Anyways, my foreign phrase of the pod today, as I said, it's Russian. And the phrase is "Ya doma." Do you know what that means, Jared? "Ya doma."
Something about sleeping?
Nope. "Ya" is I. Doma is home.
I'm home.
I'm at home. Yep.
I'm at home. They don't say like at. They just say I.
I think they have at in Russian. I'm not sure what it is, but I've heard people say "ya doma," so should be correct.
So, are we allowed to announce that you're going to Uzbekistan in September yet?
Nope, we can't tell them that I'm going to Mongolia yet. Not yet.
And is this all because of this damn virus? Because now we really don't know what's going to happen?
Yeah.
Now it's
Basically.
really that hard to... So you can't even... So now because we don't know, you can't even mention what it was.
Were you even listening? I straight up said I was going to Russia.
Oh, I missed that.
Yeah, I straight up said I'm going to Russia.
You don't know how to drop bombs. So you just so... I think I might have heard you say that. But
Didn't register.
That's the first time you've ever said that on the pod. You are so bad at like dropping bombs of information that it
Right.
throws me off. Like you said it so normally that I'm like, oh yeah, I mean he's going to Russia, but then I was like, oh wait, but he hasn't said that. Kind of like when you were in Bali and you're like, oh, I'm no longer in China. I was like, oh, all right, cool. Just right off the bat, just throwing it out there. I'm gone, by the way. Anyway, you're right, Chad. At this point, he's not looking good. Probably not going to go on an international trip to Paris at
Probably
the beginning
a smart
of
choice.
May. I mean, forget choice. They probably won't even let me. But yeah,
Right,
probably
probably
not a
not.
smart choice either, of course. I don't want to go to an airport anytime soon. But I'm still going to go, you know? Like, I'm not going to...
You're going to do a
although I was
virtual
talking to my
walking
parents-
tour?
I should. I was talking to my parents and they were like, "Oh no, it's okay. I mean, every airline's giving out refunds and yeah, you won't be able to go right now, but you can easily get a refund and you can just credit that towards a different flight some other time." And I'm like, "Yeah, but like I got this flight for cheaper than I could ever get an international flight
Right.
normally. What's the chances of me finding that again?" Just off the bat.
No
So
kidding.
I'm gonna have like a $340 credit for Lufthansa. That's not gonna do me any good.
Pay for half of a flight somewhere once all this calms down.
I didn't sign up for a half a flight, Chad. I went into this for a full flight.
Right.
I want a full flight back.
That's
My
true.
French word of the pod, though, for now, because I will see you again, France. And I did choose a French word of the pod on purpose because I still want to keep it up because I'm going. But my French word of the pod for now is isolement, because I think this might come in handy once I finally go.
Is that isolation? No. What is that?
Very good. Very good.
right.
Hey, don't second guess yourself.
Isolement.
You got it.
We are professionals
Isolement.
here at the Untranslatable Podcast, Jared.
You betcha.
And our professional tips to recap today's episode for working at home, definitely have a room or a space where you can work. I would 100% agree with you, Jared. Some work clothes. I get up every day and get
Not
dressed.
even work clothes,
But
just
different than your sleeping clothes and lounging clothes.
put on outside clothes. Put
on
real
some jeans,
clothes.
people. Put on some
put on
jeans.
real clothes.
You heard it here. Let's see here. I would say try to keep
Have
a
some
schedule and stick to a
self-respect,
schedule as
goddammit.
well. And lastly, don't be afraid to reach out to your friends, colleagues, coworkers, and enjoy
Get
the time with
outside.
your pets. Oh, also
But
get
in a
outside. Good
smart
call.
way. Smartly.
Smart and safe.
Do you go outside? And because you could easily go outside and be even more isolated than I am. And I'm pretty...
I do.
I'm
Usually
okay.
every day with the dog. We go out and
Oh,
kick
that's
the
great. You have a
soccer ball
dog
around.
too. That helps. A lot of
Big
my
help.
coworkers have dogs too, so it forces them to go outside and go for walks too. So that's good too. I didn't even think
Exactly.
about that. Yeah.
Exactly. So we hope to all of those of you who are working from home, you have a safe, fun, and healthy transition. And for those
betcha.
of you who have unfortunately lost your jobs due to this terrible crisis, we wish
Yeah.
you all the best of luck and fortune, and hope that you will be able to find work either remote, well, ideally remotely right now, and hopefully this episode helps you make that adjustment. So we thank you all so much for listening and for your support. And as we say here at the Untranslatable Podcast, Dziękujemy, muchas gracias, and shisha and do svidania.